Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday edition of Fox and Talk. I'm Ellen McNamara.
And I'm Mark Martinez. Thanks for joining us. We got a couple of topics today we're going to hit on. We're going to talk first, though, about the H-1B visas. The Trump administration really recently announced and surprised a lot of people that they were going to be charging $100,000 per visa, which is going to impact a lot of employees, a lot of employers, the tech industry.
Yeah.
So we've got someone on here to talk to us about this. He is Susham M. He is a former law professor and current immigration attorney at the Modi law firm. Sir, did this announcement surprise you? What are the effects that it's having right now?
Thank you for having me on. This is a very large surprise. I don't think we've seen a change like this in H-1B advanced skill workers for decades. And what we're talking about here is not just 100,000. The proposals that they're trying to have an effect is 100,000 per employee, per person.
Wow. So just when this was announced on Friday, were you getting calls about this?
Yeah, so, we've seen a huge amount of individuals scared on multiple levels, including current H-1B holders. Can they travel outside the U.S. to visit their family members? How are employers going to react and scale in the future? And how much is that going to affect their bottom line? Yeah. So those are just two of the ways. And then third, we're part of American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as others. And I think they're going to see a lot of litigation, a lot of lawsuits against this and on several different grounds.
Can you explain to us, maybe for people who aren't familiar, how this works? Who gets the H-1B visas? Primarily, who are these folks? And what is the current status, or how do they currently get an H-1B visa? I believe it's by a lottery and then typically just some administrative fees that they require to pay, correct?
That's correct. So if we take a step back, who is the H-1Bs for? They're for advanced skill workers. So a lot of the times we're talking about the cream of the crop from around the world. And the types of professions are engineers, doctors, scientists, professors. So we're talking about some of the cream of the crop here in working in these fields and a lot of the hard sciences. In terms of the process, you're absolutely correct. The first is a registration, often known as the lottery in slang, and there's a cap. There's actually only a limited number of new H-1Bs allowed per year. On that issue, actually, I think one of the reasons the Trump administration wants to do this is to have more workers in the U.S., like Americans being employed. But we have to understand just the lottery itself, there's only 65,000 allowed per year by an additional 20,000 if you have a master's. And you're looking at over what in the U.S. adult, worker market is about 200 million people. So this is maybe 2.5% of the U.S. population that we're really trying to talk about here. And that's including the renewals. That's just the new individuals are just about only 85,000 a year. So that's the first step, is the registration or lottery. And then if people are lucky enough to get into that, then the employer has to petition you for the H-1B itself.
Yeah, I mean, I know that was kind of the argument to prioritize Americans. That is what the administration has said. Okay, so let's say that this does go into effect. I mean, are we going to lose, doctors and engineers from these other countries? And ultimately, will America suffer because of it, in your opinion?
Yeah, first, I think everybody would agree America's on the leading edge of tech, innovation, AI. And a lot of the individuals that are bringing that lead, again, is the cream of the crop. They've gone to the best schools around the world and working for U.S. corporations here. So I think that could have a huge, significant impact. Number two, I don't think this is over, though. I think you're going to see lawsuits go into federal court, and federal judges may likely put this on hold because it goes against congressional intent. So it's Congress that creates laws, not the executive branch. The executive branch is supposed to execute the laws. So there's multiple reasons here why this would be against congressional intent, which I could get into next if you'd like.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to touch back on what you were talking about when you were saying getting calls. How concerned are people, especially if they were going to be traveling out of the country? I believe some of the big employers have told their workers that are on H-1B visas not to leave the country if you're in the country and to try to delay travel if you can until this is all sort of cleared up. Is that what you're hearing?
That's definitely what we're hearing. So a lot of the employers are letting their employees know not to travel until this is cleared up, because even in the first memo from the administration, it wasn't clear on whether it applies to individuals outside the U.S. I mean, one quick clarification here is when we talk about H-1B visas, there's actually a difference between H-1B status, which is while you're in the U.S., like trying to change status, and H-1B visa, which can only be applied outside the U.S. So what happens when individuals go to renew their visa to travel? Is it applying to them or not? Now, the second memo seems to be from the White House saying it doesn't apply to those individuals leaving outside the U.S., but there's so much confusion and lack of clarification between the visa versus the status that I think a lot of individuals are being, and rightfully so, more on the conservative side and trying not to travel if they don't need to right now.
On top of this proposal, the $100,000 fee, there was another proposal, a gold card. And Trump was saying that he wanted to create a gold card where there would be a pathway to basically citizenship, where you could pay $1 million to basically speed up the process to become a citizen. Did you get calls about this at all? Or, I mean, is this outlandish, or is this something that is feasible in your opinion?
So our law firm works on a lot of investor visas, and there's two major types of investor visas. There's EB-5 and E-2. Now, again, Congress creates these laws for under the Immigration Nationality Act in these investor visas. So I think we have another issue here where the Trump administration cannot just unilaterally say, hey, we have a whole new mechanism and we're going to eviscerate EB-5s and E-2s that Congress has created. And so I think this also will be suited upon, because we have to imagine, look how many people are in the steps right now for those other types of pathways that are still on the books. They're rightfully applying for those pathways. But then you have this whole new procedure coming out. And so I think you're going to see lawsuits on the Trump gold visa, gold card as well. Really, you can't create, you've seen this with DACA, for example, with the Obama administration. DACA wasn't even a status. That's the way they tried to get around this issue. It was just a way to use enforcement priorities. Here, the Trump administration is actually trying to give green cards, status, permanent residency. And I think that's going to fly in the face of congressional intent.
And when we talk about these workers, again, highly skilled workers is who we're talking about primarily. A lot of these big tech corporations and engineering companies, they need that brain power. And unfortunately, they have found, I guess, looking for highly skilled workers to be a challenge in many areas in the country. So you can't just replace these folks really quickly if they do have to go back or can't pay that $100,000. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And I think, on both sides of the aisle, we could agree maybe our educational system is failing us. We don't have the individuals that can fulfill these roles. And they're very high-end roles in engineering, doctors, et cetera. And that's going to take time to revamp our educational system. So there is going to be a huge lack here. Now, how companies overcome that lack, whether it's more remote workers or looking at other paths, that's what we're getting a lot of questions about now. There's other ways that companies could hire other than H-1B. So for example, there's individuals of extraordinary ability where you can self-petition for a green card. That could be a way to look into. Another is an L visa, an intra-company transfer visa. So if they worked for the parent company abroad for a year, within the last 3 years, and they're either advanced skill workers or executives, and advanced skill workers parallels a lot with H-1Bs, then that could be another way around it as well. So there's going to be a lot that employers need to look at if it goes into effect. On the other end of the spectrum, I think, again, it may likely not go into effect because of lawsuits.
Well, I know this has been a topic that has kind of, frankly, it has divided the Trump administration, or people who support the administration anyway. You had Elon Musk, you had Vivek Ramaswamy, who were big supporters of these visas. And then you have diehard MAGA, who were kind of not in favor of it necessarily. So, yeah, 65,000 H-1B visas have been granted annually. And so, I mean, it does affect a lot of people and frankly, a lot of companies, a lot of very important companies throughout America.
Yeah, and if you're somebody who has one of these, it does seem so confusing and unclear right now. You probably, even though you may not want to, no offense to you, sir, but you probably have to contact an attorney to figure out how to deal with this or what you should do.
I think it's going to be really important to contact a skilled immigration attorney because you need to look at not only can you travel or not, but then also where is the lawsuits going on this? You know, what have the courts said? Have they put it on hold, like moving forward or not? And then number three, are there other paths to circumvent it, like we hinted on, extraordinary ability petitions, L visas, etc. And that's just on the H-1B issue. There's a whole another issue on, as you correctly pointed out, on the Trump Gold Card and other investment visas like the EB-5 and E-2.
And we have about a minute left. We do have a question here from Ashley, comment also. She's saying this also affects students who come to America to study and intend to work here. Can you address that real quick?
Yes, precisely. So a lot of students come here and then they may get an advanced degree, like engineering, for example, and then they're going to be on OPT. Which is like a way to work after they graduate for a very short amount of time, a year or maybe two if it's STEM. But then they have to have an employer to sponsor them. And one of the biggest mechanisms was H-1B. So this is going to impact students in terms of like, what is their path going to be after they graduate? You know, and there's other things to look at here as well. Like, do they go to additional schooling? Do they that they want to do? Do they end up wanting to find this extraordinary ability path? And again, they should also monitor the federal lawsuits should they come down the road soon about this issue.
Yeah, a lot to consider. And again, contact an attorney, an immigration attorney, if you do have questions.
Right. Yeah, because there's just, again, a lot of uncertainty and things could change on a daily basis or even sooner than that. So Susham M, thank you so much. Former law professor, current immigration attorney. I know you're going to be very busy handling a lot of phone calls and emails from clients. That's for sure. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.